Imagine that Jesus moved into your house today. He takes up residence in the spare bedroom, living alongside you in your physical reality. This proximity would likely dictate every practical detail of your day. You would filter the media you consume, reconsider how you speak to your family, and move through your routines with a heightened sense of his immediate presence. Most modern interactions with faith look nothing like this. For many, religion is a secondary layer, something addressed on a specific day of the week or during a moment of crisis, rather than a factor in daily behavioral choices. Physical proximity demands a change in behavior. Without that sense of closeness, it becomes easy to compartmentalize belief, keeping it safely tucked away where it doesn't interfere with our actual lives. This creates a pro forma faith, being baptized, reciting creeds, and attending services, while lacking a lived-in connection to the person at the center of those rituals. This diagram shows the distance between two types of knowledge. On the left, historical data, names, dates, and texts. On the right, relational intimacy, habits learned from being with someone. Often, faith stays trapped on the left. This distance makes a person vulnerable to the pressures of the modern world, surrounded by endless political turmoil, by digital algorithms, and a cultural worship of wealth and celebrity power. When these external idols clash with a personal crisis, a surface-level theoretical faith often fails. It lacks the structural integrity to support someone through actual suffering or systemic collapse. Navigating a modern crisis requires more than a set of inherited ideas. It requires an anchor that is physically and spiritually present in the moment. The Gospel of John addresses this need for presence through a shift in perspective. In the second half of the book, Jesus moves away from public signs and enters the book of glory, delivering his final, intimate instructions to his followers. Here is a clash between two senses of time. First is Chronos, the world's ticking clock of deadlines. Contrast this with Kairos, God's expansive, eternal present. Jesus acts as the bridge, allowing his followers to step out of this frantic pace and into stillness. Stepping into this God space isn't a retreat into comfort. It involves a difficult trade. To experience this glory, one must be willing to accept the suffering that comes with following a countercultural path. Within Kairos, suffering loses its randomness. It stops being an obstacle to overcome and becomes a shared journey that refines a person's faith and character. We see the blueprint for this endurance in the early church. The followers described in 1 Peter faced immediate threats of execution for refusing to worship the Roman emperor as a god. They didn't survive that persecution by memorizing a list of rules. They survived by maintaining a proximity to Jesus that made his presence more real to them than the threats of the empire. Replicating that resilience today requires the same level of intentionality. It involves actively studying his responses to corruption and measuring every daily thought against his specific teachings. This process is similar to building muscle memory. By repeatedly filtering experiences through his eyes, you begin to change how you react to the world around you. This discipline leads to an awakening. Faith transitions from a set of inherited traditions into a living relationship with a man who bled, hungered, and challenged the authorities of his day. This awakening marks a departure from passive religion. It creates a life that is resilient and intentionally out of sync with the world's values. Once you move from passive belief to an active relationship, your actions will inevitably look nonsensical to the secular world. The Apostle Paul outlined the mechanics of this life in his letter to the Romans. Chapter 12 serves as a do list for anyone attempting to live in close proximity to Jesus. Note the contrast between typical human impulses and these commands. While the world encourages retaliation and the pursuit of status, Paul calls for genuine love, humility, and the active blessing of those who persecute you. Perhaps the most illogical command on the list is to feed your hungry enemy. Paul isn't suggesting a polite gesture, but a radical, disruptive act of service toward those who wish you harm. These aren't acts of submission. They are part of a deliberate strategy to push back against hostility by overcoming evil with good. These actions function as a fierce, prophetic complaint. They serve as a living protest against the modern systems and empires that prioritize power over compassion. Today's systemic evils, from the worship of technology to the ruins of war, cannot be dismantled by simply seeking political influence or cultural dominance. Lasting resistance is built when you take Jesus out of the ancient history books and make room for him in the immediate moments of your life. Closing the gap between formal tradition and a daily, intimate relationship provides the spiritual endurance needed to face the world's fiery ordeals without losing your hope or your soul.